Hello again, this is Kevin Little, Chairman of Walton County Board of Commissioners, and we're in the celebration of the 200th year of Walton County, 1818 to 2018. And over the past few months, we've been interviewing some of our historians and some prominent people here in the county. And today we're very proud to have Lamar Palmer with us. Lamar, homegrown Walton Countyan, and he wound up in worked for the city of Monroe Police, worked for the Walton County Sheriff's Department, and actually wound up being sheriff, and then actually ended his career as a commissioner. So, Lamar, you've been involved with Walton County and Monroe and all for a long, long time. But I want to talk a little bit about your childhood first. Just tell us a little bit about growing up here in the county and what your parents did and what you did when you was a child, and some a little bit about your family members.
Well, Kevin, I was born at home on Bearden Road out in the Good Hope community in 1933, December the 24th. And my daddy always told the story that he was getting ready to have Christmas and he had one heck of a Christmas present. But anyway, I grew up in that area out there, and my daddy was a tractor salesman up until World War II came along. And then we become sharecroppers. And I was at the right age if you're familiar with what sharecropping was. That was a type where the owner got the money and you done the work.
That's right, and you got to live there.
And you got to live there. But anyway, I became a worker, and I got to go to school. I went to school at Good Hope, and I went through the 11th grade, and all I could see was cotton patches and cornfields and hay fields. And so one of my buddies, Mr. Horace Head, who has passed and gone on, we decided we was going into the Air Force. Okay. So my daddy talked to me and told me, said, Lamar, you don't need to go into the Air Force. There's a war going on. I said, well, Daddy, I won't go there. But anyway, we had a big old map, globe, one of the things that turns around, and I found it, and it was about the size of a pinhead. So I told Daddy, I said, ain't no way I'll go there. But anyway, going back to that, schooling back in that day was a privilege to get to go. I mean, you didn't get to go every day. They had school in August, and then you got out in September to gather the crops, which you picked cotton in by hand. Mm-hmm. Wasn't no such thing as a cotton picker. Mm-hmm. And you got to go to school when you could. So I kind of got behind, and so the 11th grade I quit, and I went into the Air Force. And I done real well in the Air Force. I became an equipment operator and went to career just straight off, and was over there during the war. I stayed over there till November of 1953. After the war was over, I got to come home. And I completed my education. And I came home, and I was sitting on my front porch one day, and Mr. Jack Morris was the chief of police, and he sent one of his officers over there that wanted to see me. At that time, our town was going through some problems. It was being integrated, and it was some people that went along with it, some didn't, you know. And anyway, with my service time, Mr. Jack wanted me to go to work for the city. And me coming from the farm, and where people were people, and so I went to work for the city. And that was probably the best move I made when I did that. And then I started going to career schools. I went over to the University of Georgia and different places and took different courses at the academy, and went from there on up. But going back to the old time part that you're interested in, Mr. Chairman, I can remember when they had 4 plants here, made dry goods. They was Red Fox, Carwood 1, Carwood 2, and the other one that's out here on, what was it called?
Oxford.
Oxford Manufacturing Company, yeah.
Mhm.
And, we had 2 cotton mills. We don't have any of them now, all of that. We had 3 trains coming into Monroe. We had what they call the Gainesville Milling. We had the, Appalachia Special, they called it the Greene County Special. And then we had Georgia Railroad coming in from Social Circle. We had, 3 gin houses in Walton County, in Monroe. We don't have any. We had a big corn mill in Walton County. We don't have any. All of this is gone. And, people 20 years or 30 or 40 years younger than me didn't get to see that.
Mhm.
And where we are sitting at, this parking lot adjacent to the courthouse, where the annex building is, that used to be filled with horses and wagons and mules and buggies on Saturday, where people come to town and shopped at Acock's grocery store over here.
Mhm.
And it's just been it's just been a complete turnover. We don't have none of the stuff that you had when I come along as a teenager.
Mhm. And that's kind of a sign of the times and the changing. We kind of outshopped and started shopping through catalogs and things like that. So,
Yeah.
but I knew you grew up on the farm, and most of the people that we've interviewed through this thing have grew up on a farm and had grown up hard, and you just saw the total transition of Monroe and Walton County. And so, did y'all have any special family traditions that had lasting effects on you as you've grown up and still today?
Well, we was a family. We none of us were real wealthy. We always respect people. We always went to the big homecomings at church, and that was really look forward to. And then they'd have the big Christmas programs, and then we would have the dinners and the celebrations at home, and we would go from house to house during Christmas. And I don't know, it was a community thing, and it was love, and now it's a commercial thing. I think we have gotten away from what Christmas really is.
Mhm.
And we've let 1 or 2 people put us in that direction.
That's right.
It ain't the majority.
Growing up, you said you joined the Air Force, and when you come back, did you come back and live at home with your mother and daddy, or did you come back and start your own?
I come back and lived with mother and daddy for a while, and then married my wife, now Martha Jo. And she was from Gainesville, and we had 2 children, Lisa and Ricky, and they both are out on their own now. My son, he is retired from Atlanta Gas and Light Company, and my daughter, she's married, and she's just a housewife and a computer worker for the fella that she married.
All right.
And, but yes, the respect and love for people, I guess we've gotten so busy that we don't have the time we used to have,
Mhm.
and you just don't have the family gatherings that you used to. I've always admired this man here for the time that he showed for his family. I started with him with his boys when they were little, going to the races.
Yep.
But anyway, Monroe has really changed, and the biggest thing that I've seen change is the relationship between the people. I've seen it go from here to there. And
Yeah, you come on when there's tough times. One of the teacher group we talked with this morning, they had several of them they graduated from the black school and then went back and taught at the black school. Then when integration come along, they actually taught in the integration, in the school. We had Miss Bell, Mr. Lachlan, Miss Robinson, and Miss Thompson here and Miss Britton this morning, and so they were talking about a little bit about the integration and the changes and all that. And so you were on the law enforcement side, and so that did you saw it from a different perspective.
Yeah. Well, I saw it where the whole turnover. I remember when Carver had his champion football team.
That's what we
and
talked.
It was all black.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a guy played on that team he'd get in a little trouble every once in a while, but he was a fine fellow. His name was Oscar Thompson Jr. And he was a running back. And the coach would say, officer says, you gotta have him Friday night. I said, all right.
Yeah.
But Oscar was a good boy. He was a fine young man.
Mr. Lachlan said he was an assistant coach. That's still the only state champion football team that Walton County has.
That's exactly right.
So that was really.
We had a big celebration when they got done with it. Mr. Lachlan, and he was always there. He was a good man.
Mm-hmm. How long were you a city police before you went to the county?
Kevin, I was with the city for 10 years. When I went to work down there, it was the farmers came in at night and worked. They come in, there wasn't any such thing as just a one or two professional police. So when I started to work down there, we started doing things a little different, not because of me, but just because of the times, and we followed the times. Mr. Hearn was the general. Mr. Bo Hearn was the general, and the general was the National Guards in Walton County in Georgia. He was over everything. And he approached me one day and wanted to know if I wanted to start going to school to professionalize police officers. I told him absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started going to the police academy up on Confederate Avenue in Atlanta. And we developed a very, very, very strong police department. It was recognized throughout the state. And I worked down there 10 years, and we had a mayor come along that wanted to change everything, and so he succeeded, and I went to work with the county. And so we started that same routine with the county. Frank at that time had just got to be sheriff, Frank Thornton. He had just got to be sheriff, and I come up here and went to work with him in '74. And so you see where it's at now.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked down there 27 years.
Is that including being the sheriff? You was there 27 years, including your last 2 years being the sheriff?
And I started to work right in here, here where the office was. And we went on and we built a real respectable sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that Sheriff Thornton believed in, was honesty, respect, and love.
Mm-hmm.
And we built our department off of that. And when you went in and sat down to him, you might as well tell him the truth, because he already knew it. So that's the way I kind of run my outfit. If you're gonna tell me the story, just go on. I don't want to hear it.
That's right.
But anyway, we went on to where it's at now. And when I was with Monroe, we set up our own photo lab down there. We had fingerprinting. I went to University of Georgia, took fingerprinting, and several big courses over there to help me build a police department. That's all I was interested in. I didn't want to run no computer or nothing. I wanted to be a policeman, and I wanted to be good at what I do. And so that's where I spent my time.
That's right. You were chief deputy for a long time, right? Prior to you head of night patrol, and then you were chief deputy.
I was a major. I was uniform division commander. I run the sheriff department at night, and so the sheriff could get a little sleep.
And then Sheriff Thornton died in '96, right, in office, and that was when you were. I
was appointed interim sheriff.
You finished his term out there, and then you won an election.
Right.
And you served one term as sheriff.
Well, see, when Sheriff Thornton died, I was in the process of retiring. Sheriff Thornton was switching from Democrat to Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So he approached me and asked me, he says, will you worked with me to July and helped me run the outfit, the sheriff's department, because I'm gonna have a job on my hands of running for sheriff. And so I told him absolutely I would, 6 months didn't mean that much to me. And anyway, in February he died, and then they appointed me sheriff, and it was everybody's wishes that I run a term.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I says, I'll run one term. Y'all make up your mind who you want to be sheriff, because I'm going home. So I went home, and luckily I did. Had I ended up like him, on December, about this time of year, in '01, I retired in 2000, I had open heart surgery. I had, so anyway, I guess it just.
You were a walking time bomb with that heart surgery,
right.
they
Didn't
said.
know it.
So, and then you got to feeling better after your heart surgery, and you ran for district commissioner.
District commissioner.
That was in 2002, and you took
Right.
office in 2003.
I think that's right.
Mm-hmm. And so then you served about 10 years there.
Well, no, I think I took, maybe it was.
Yeah, you run during the 2002,
Right.
and you take office in 03, and so you served about 10
I was
years.
up there 12 years.
12 years, okay,
12.
3 terms. And so you've done a lot of good for the community, and that was one of the reasons that I wanted to interview you, because you are such a historian of every kind of change. And a lot of people, like you said, they lived on the farms or lived out in the communities, and they didn't really know what went on other than what you read or saw, but you actually lived it all. And so that was one of the things, the reason I wanted to interview you. And just tell us a little bit about your family and your brothers, and and then how many grandchildren. You talked a little bit about Joe, your wife, and just tell us a little bit about that.
I had a brother that worked for the state. He was the first forest ranger, I guess, at Walton County ever had. And he accidentally got killed in a plane crash working for the state. And his name was W.D. And then I had my brother Harold. He went to university and graduated as a forestry, and he's got his own to do.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife Jo, she come from Gainesville. Her people were cotton mill workers, and her mother and daddy separated, and she come to Monroe, and I met her, and I always told people I thought she was she was a very mature woman, and I talked her into notion to marry me. and so we went to get our license. She said, well, I'm gonna have to get Mama to sign. I said, what you talking about, Mama to sign? And she wasn't 17. I thought she was about 19 or 20. I never had asked her an age, but that was a big joke of ours. But anyway, we've been living together 61 years, so we had 2 lovely children.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them named Ricky and one Lisa. One's got 4 children, the other's got 2 boys. And then they got children of their own. Jason and Jacob and Hannah and Katie. That's the offspring. That's the grandchildren.
Yeah, I knew you were proud of all those. You mentioned them earlier, and I wanted to come back and put a little emphasis on all those. And so I knew. So you and Joe have been married 61 years.
61 years.
That's a long time. And
She
so,
was working in one of the sewing plants when I met her,
Mm-hmm.
right across the street.
That's right. And so, so your first real paying job was a sharecropper on the farm. I guess you may have got a little pay when you worked with your mom and daddy.
Got paid 75 cents a day to chop cotton.
To chop cotton.
To chop cotton, 75 cents a day. That was my first job.
And then when you went into the Air Force, I guess you got a little stipend there, right?
Yeah, I was an airman first class. I was a 3-star, but the same that they call a sergeant in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would have probably stayed in the Air Force, but my daddy had a crop in the ground, and he had back surgery and was unable to work, and he had started working for himself. I mean, he wasn't the sharecropper anymore, he was the cropper.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he had everything he had in the ground, so I had to come home and head it. So
Okay.
I finished up that crop, and then I got me a job, you know.
Okay. So then you went straight into law enforcement, and you served your whole career in law enforcement?
Yes,
You served the community?
My whole life has been helping people.
Mm-hmm.
At one time, every person on that sheriff's department down there was first responders.
That was good, because that way they are, generally, the sheriff's department are the first responders
Well,
most times.
back then, we was the first one there. We didn't have the fire department and thing that the county has built now. And then, when I first started that, funeral homes run the ambulance.
That's right.
And so, I felt like we was the first one there, that I couldn't stand for somebody to stand there and watch somebody bleed to death and not know what to do.
That was very good to be able to do that.
That was the military that was in me, that was bestowed in me from where I was in the military, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
What significant historical events has taken place in your working career or in your life that really just sticks out at you, and you may, you know, it ain't necessarily got to be Walton County, but anything that kind of just sticks out to you?
well, I think we're gonna have to go back to my younger days when they bombed Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
I can carry you to the various place that I was sitting when Roosevelt declared war on the declared World War II.
That's pretty amazing. You was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And so, 'cause if you was born in 33,
I was
that's
out
what
on
made you 8.
Bearden Road. I was out on Bearden Road, but we was up at not at the house I was born in, but the big house that they had just burned and rebuilt.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
And then I guess the next thing was the 911.
Yeah.
I think my heart stopped that day.
Yeah.
And you know, other things has happened just as important, family-wise and otherwise, but those are the outstanding things that really caught me.
That's
And
good.
I guess from the day that they bombed Pearl Harbor until I got in the military, that was my last desire,
Mm-hmm.
was to be military or police officer.
Give you a little bit of drive to be a servant. And be,
Yeah, I just wanted to work with people, be with people.
Well, Lamar, anything else you want to add that we hadn't talked about?
Well, I'm just proud to see what our county has come, where it's come to. And I hope we've left it to the people, in the people's hands, that'll keep carrying it forward. Our town is for the people, and it's for all people. And that's the way I've tried to work it, that's the way I've tried to live. And I hope the people that's coming on behind me will do the same thing. You know, we got a beautiful, clean little town, and I feel like I'm part of it. I'm responsible for something.
That's right.
I may not never get credit for it, but I think the John Culbresses and all of them are gone, they can tell you.
That's the reason that we wanted to interview you, because you are kind of one of those unsung heroes that's had a big part. There wasn't many people that grew up in the 70s and 80s that you didn't pull a blue light on them and carry them home or help them out. And so, you know, that's a lot of people indebted to you for not ruining their lives and just carrying them home to mama and daddy. And so, you know, that's been a big part. And I do want to thank you for coming in today. And this will be airing on our YouTube, but we also will be putting it in the time capsule, and it'll be opened up in 2118, 100 years from now. And so maybe we'll have some descendants that'll look back and see who we were and see how things were. But
well, you know, I didn't do this myself. There was a lot of people here. You know, a lot of people tap you on your shoulder and say so and so and so and so.
That's right.
But most of the time, if you listen, you'll get something out of it. And I had a lot of help and guidance through my career. I appreciated every bit of it, and I tried to live it.
That's right. Sure did. Well, I appreciate you coming in today, and you have a Merry Christmas, and we thank you.
Thank you, y'all too.
All right.